Hi guys, welcome to Darren's Maths Corner, and today we're going to be looking at a brand new chapter in the book called Using Your Calculator. And in this part of the chapter we're going to be looking at approximations, because a calculator can only hold a certain number of digits, usually between 8 to 10 digits to be more precise. But then that would be seen as too many digits, and you'd need some form of approximation with that aspect taken into place. Now, there are two different methods of approximation, and that is rounding to a set of decimal places, so that that's anything that follows a decimal point, or rounding to a set of significant figures. So if it's anything more than 1, in this case any number is greater than 1, they would count as significant figures, but end digits don't, particularly not if they're 0, and I'll get to more of that in a bit. Just remember the rules when you're doing approximation, and that is to round up if your last digit is 5 or more, or round down if it's less than 5. And here are a few examples as to what I've got, as to what this, here are a few examples that touch on that. So anything that follows the whole number after the decimal point would be what we round up here. I think I found a James Bond reference as well. Let me know in the comments if you spotted it. And that's rounding up the following numbers to 2 decimal places. We've got another one in the top right hand corner which we will solve at the end of this video as well. Next, we go into significant figures, but you need to take care of any zeros that may be present. The zeros at the beginning of a decimal number or at the end of a number, they're not classed as significant figures, but they still need including, and that's because this helps everything retain their place. And there's an example that I've given at the bottom there, 70,631.9. When given correct to 3 significant figures is 70,600. Now, the 0 of those 3 significant figures is classed as significant because it's placed in the thousandths holder, and it's crucial for it to be kept in its correct place. And some more examples are on the next slide. But it's also important to note at this point, with the last one that we've got, that the digit 1 becomes the first significant figure, and the 2 zeros after that become the second and the third. So we go from having 3 decimal places to just 2 when you round that up to 1. Let's do some exercises and let's see how we can help you get through these. We've got the accuracy required in each one, so we've got, let's round up to 3 significant figures. So anything that I put in bold will be what we're rounding up, and the bit that's in an underline, the number that's underlined is the one that we're looking at. So I'll put a 9.7 because they're absolutely, that's part of the answer that we're looking at. So we then pay special attention to the 3. But since the 6 is greater than 5, we round that up to the next significant figure. So your 3 then becomes 4. The next one we're going to look at is 0.36218. Put those two in bold. The 0 doesn't count, nor does anything after, nor does anything over that side of the decimal point. So we're just looking at the 0.36. And then we look at, we're going to work out the 2 as well. Well, since that is less than 5, the number stays as is. The next number, we are rounding to 1 decimal point. So I'll put the 4 in bold. Put the 147 at the beginning, because that stays the same. And then we're going to look at the 9. Now, that is greater than 5. So then we'll round that 4 up to a 5. 2 significant figures for 28.613. Here's the next one. So we'll put that in bold. And that's it. Because we'll look at the 6. We'll put the 2 there as well. We'll look at the 6. And since that's greater than 5, we'll round it up to the nearest 1. And we can just ignore everything after the decimal point, because the numbers that I've put in bold are the significant figures. The next one is going to be an interesting one, because we're looking at significant figures. Essentially, we're going to be looking at two decimal points there practically, because you've got a 0, and any zeros at the beginning of a number are not significant. Put a left there because it's important for everything else to retain its place. We'll put a 5 there because that's part of the answer as well. And then we have a 5, which I've put in the underline, and that then rounds up because it's 5 or more. That's equal to 5. The next one we're going to look at is we're rounding up to 2 significant figures. We're rounding up to 2 decimal places even. So 4 stays in one place. Sorry, I've just itching my head. And then, because we're rounding up, because this digit here is greater than 5, we're going to round up to 0.20. And I put the 0 in because it then indicates that we've rounded up to 2 decimal places. It's the same with this one as well, 1245.4. But we're rounding up to 3 decimal places. I'm getting them mixed up suddenly. 3 significant figures. We'll put the 12 there because that is part of the answer. And the 5 is what we're rounding up. And because the 5 is equal to 5, because the number I've put in the underline is equal to 5, we round the 4 up. And because this is a 4-digit number, followed by a decimal point, we then put a 0 at the end. So then the 5 keeps its place. Ignore the decimal point because it's not needed. Decimal points for this one. If you try 3 significant figures, it would be that, and it would practically be the same. So we'll do 3 decimal places for that. For that number, and we're going to be rounding a 2. Now the 2 is less than 5, so that number stays the same. And this one's an interesting one. 273.6 to 2 significant figures. So I'll put that in, and so I'll put a 2 in. The number we're going to be rounding off is a 3. Well, that's less than 5, so the 7 stays the same. And because the 3 lies after the decimal point, we need to put the 0 in, so then it keeps its place, so that the 2 and the 7 keep their place in the number. Now the next one we're going to look at, which is the last one of them, is this number, 459.97314, to 1 decimal place. So we bold the 9 because that's what we're going to be leading up to. Put 459. It's an interesting one because 7 is greater than 5, so then that rounds up. But then because we've got another 9, we then up rounding up to 460, and then put a 0 at the end, put another 0 at the end, so then indicate that we've rounded up to 1 decimal place. So with that in mind, let's solve the bonus question, which is we're going to add these to 2 decimal places. So with that in mind, we want to round that. So we'll put the 18, and then there's the 9. And then we're going to round the 4 up. We're going to round the 4 off. Now, because that is less than 5, the second decimal place will stay as it is. I'm going to use my stylus pen for this because you can actually draw on this as such. $18.93, and then what we'll do after that is we'll do the 8.5758. So we'll put the 8.5 because those numbers will stay as part of the answer, and then we'll round up the 5 that I've underlined. And I can say round up because it's equals to 5, and therefore it will round up to 8.58. And then I'll put that in. And then I'll add them up. I then would also wonder at this point, what would that come to if you then added the actual amounts up? So if we then do the approximation, that's 1, well it's 11, so you put 1 and then add 1. 9 plus 5 is 14. Add 1. 15, that's 16, add another 1. And then add 1 to the 1 there as well. Now, just out of interest, I wonder what the actual answer is. Might not see me on camera at this point. Whoops. So I'm going to try and add the whole sum up. This one is just an estimate. So when you see an equal sign that's curved, a curved equal sign as opposed to a straight one, that indicates an estimation. Whereas this one is going to be the exact amount. And this leads in nicely to a later video in this chapter of the maths book. So that's 13. 4 plus 5 is 9 and add 1. 3 plus 7 is 10, add 1. 9 plus 5 is 14, again add 1. 16, add 1. And then add 1 to the 1. And that is what we're looking at as you round the whole thing down to the nearest 2 decimal points, 2 decimal places. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.